He wrote a book called Families, which was about his family in Mississippi growing up poor. And also it was about my brother and I and the family he created with my mom. And so he died when I was 10, and the book was not a huge bestseller. But for me...
Just now, in a deeply moving broadcast, Anderson Cooper shared his latest heartbreak. The pain of losing someone again seems even sharper this time. From the early loss of his father to the more recent passing of his mother and close friends like Anthony Bourdain, Cooper has endured more than his share of grief. How does one cope when grief lingers, refusing to fade? Tune in as we explore Anderson Cooper's relentless fight against a storm of sorrow that never seems to end. Anderson Cooper's journey through grief. Anderson Cooper has experienced loss throughout his life, and each one has left a mark on him. From the death of his father when he was just a young boy to more recent losses like his mother, Gloria Vanderbilt, his close friend Anthony Bourdain, and his respected colleagues, Anderson knows the pain of saying goodbye all too well. Yet, as the evening news flickered to life, revealing his somber face, another tragedy was about to unfold, one that would challenge him like never before. In this video, we see Anderson Cooper sharing another very personal moment as he speaks about the loss of yet another important person in his life. We get a glimpse of how his past experiences with grief have shaped the way he connects with his audience during these raw, emotional moments. Through heartfelt tributes and honest reflections, Anderson shows us how he honors the memories of those he's lost and helps others cope with their own grief. As we watch, it's clear how fragile life can be, but also how strong love and memories remain. Anderson's approach to grief is always full of respect, kindness, and pure honesty. From a young age, loss has been a big part of Anderson's life. Born into the famous Vanderbilt family, Anderson lost his father, Wyatt Cooper, when he was only 10 years old. This event had a deep impact on how he views loss and prepared him for a life of exploring human emotions in all their depth. But that wasn't the hardest part. When he was just 23, Anderson lost his older brother Carter, who tragically took his own life. This event had a lasting effect on Anderson, shaping how he would approach both his personal life and his career, often talking about grief and loss in ways that others could relate to. The bond between Anderson and his mother, Gloria Vanderbilt, shimmered with love, respect, and admiration. Born into the illustrious Vanderbilt family, Gloria navigated a life marked by both privilege and numerous challenges. Her early years were overshadowed by a highly publicized custody battle, setting the stage for a life under scrutiny. Despite these early trials, Gloria thrived, carving out successful careers as an actress, fashion designer, artist, and writer. She continually reinvented herself, each phase of her life as vibrant as the last. Anderson often marveled at his mother, considering her the coolest person I knew. He was especially struck by her relentless curiosity and vitality, qualities that she maintained well into her 90s. Her ability to engage with the world around her never waned, serving as a beacon of inspiration for him throughout her life. After his mother's death, Anderson opened up about his own mourning process, offering comfort to others going through the same pain. He talked about the difficulty of going through her things, the memories that certain items brought up, and the challenge of deciding what to keep and what to let go of. Through sharing his personal stories, Anderson has helped make it easier for people to talk about grief and the complicated feelings that come with losing someone they love. And there's more to his story of loss. While not family, Anthony Bourdain was a close friend and colleague to Anderson. The famous chef and TV host of Parts Unknown brought a unique perspective to CNN, and their friendship was built on mutual respect and a shared love of exploring different cultures around the world. Watching Cooper and Bourdain together was always a treat for the audience. Their different personalities, Cooper being more reserved and Bourdain being bold and adventurous, created a perfect balance on screen. Bourdain would often tease Cooper for being picky about food, while Cooper admired Bourdain's bravery in both food and life. Their relationship wasn't just for the cameras. Cooper frequently talked about how much Bourdain influenced his life. He respected Bourdain's way of connecting with all kinds of people and his incredible storytelling. Cooper would often say that Bourdain had the biggest heart and made an impact on people's lives in ways he probably didn't even realize. Life's surprises teach us about strength and resilience, the unseen depths of personal loss in public life. When the news broke in June 2018 that Anthony Bourdain had died but decided to eliminate himself, it was a devastating shock to many, especially Cooper. During a heartfelt tribute on air, Cooper struggled to hold back his tears as he spoke about his friend. He called Bourdain one of this country's finest storytellers and writers, mourning the loss of his unique voice and perspective. But beyond just sharing memories, Cooper used this moment to highlight the importance of mental health and decided to eliminate himself prevention. He shared that the National decided to eliminate himself from the prevention lifeline, encouraging anyone in need to reach out for help, blending his personal grief with a powerful message of community support. But this wasn't the hardest part for Cooper. Even years after Bourdain's death, he continues to honor his memory. Cooper often talks about how Bourdain's approach to storytelling and culture has influenced his own work. He is also open about his ongoing grief, understanding the complex emotions that come with losing someone to decided to eliminate himself. The deaths of both Anthony Bourdain and Cooper's mother, Gloria Vanderbilt, have had a deep impact on him. From his mother, he learned to stay strong, keep evolving, and never lose a sense of wonder no matter your age. Her ability to adapt and stay creative into her 90s was a major influence on how Cooper lives his life. From Bourdain, Cooper gained a greater appreciation for exploring different cultures and the power of sharing meals with others. Bourdain's openness to new experiences and his ability to connect with people across the world inspired Cooper to step outside his own comfort zones. This influence is clear in Cooper's journalism, especially when he reports on stories of loss and hardship. He's always been able to empathize with people going through tough times, but the personal losses he's experienced have deepened this connection. When talking to people who have faced loss, Cooper draws from his own feelings to create a safe and respectful space for them to share their stories. His sensitive approach has made him a trusted figure for viewers who are dealing with their own grief. Yet the hardest part wasn't just experiencing the loss. Cooper's willingness to be open about his grief has helped start conversations about loss. He talks about sorting through his mother's belongings or the complicated feelings that come with losing a friend who decided to eliminate himself, giving voice to feelings that many find difficult to express. In the wake of these major losses, Cooper has found a new purpose by sharing his journey through his podcast, All There Is. In this show, he explores the different layers of grief with guests who have also faced significant losses. This project reflects what he's learned from both his mother and Bourdain: the importance of connection, the power of stories, and the healing that comes from sharing experiences. By encouraging open discussions about grief, Cooper honors the memories of his loved ones and offers support to others who are also grieving. But losing family and friends wasn't the only challenge Cooper faced. He's also lost colleagues like Melissa Elkus, a CNN staff member who passed away. On his show, Anderson Cooper 360, he paid tribute to her, highlighting her important role at CNN and her ability to brighten the office with her laughter, even during tough times. This shows Cooper's deep appreciation for his team and a recognition that every loss, whether personal or professional, leaves a space that's hard to fill. As Cooper continues to deal with his grief and report on others' losses, he shows remarkable resilience and openness. His ability to share his emotions in public while linking his personal experiences to larger issues sets him apart in broadcast journalism. Through his work, Cooper reminds us that grief is a long journey that shapes how we see life. With each new loss, he shows that while it's important to acknowledge the pain, it's also possible to keep moving forward. In doing so, he not only delivers the news but also helps his viewers navigate their own experiences with loss, inviting them to find meaning and connection even in the midst of sorrow. After a loss, unexpected talks reveal common paths of grief and comfort. Voices from the shadows. In the wake of his mother's passing, he found himself enveloped in a cloud of mourning, a subject often skirted by society's conversational norms. Yet as the days unfolded, he encountered numerous souls who, whether through brief encounters on bustling streets or through digital whispers on social media, shared their own intimate tales of loss. Surprisingly, these shared experiences of grief morphed into a profound source of solace for him, a comforting balm he hadn't anticipated but deeply cherished. This newfound openness around such a delicate topic sparked a desire within him to maintain this level of candor. He reflected on his own past, a tapestry of trials that many remained oblivious to. His father and two brothers had perished in a tragic accident when he was merely a decade old. A seismic event that not only shattered his family but also irrevocably altered the trajectory of his life. The enormity of this loss was incomprehensible. Losing two pillars of childhood companionship simultaneously was a burden no child should bear. As the youngest of 11, his upbringing was already unique, but the tragedy ushered in a stark bifurcation of his life narrative. There existed a version of him before the calamity, the carefree child untainted by profound loss, and the one who emerged in the aftermath, forever marked by absence. The juxtaposition of these two phases of existence often occupied his reflections. Life post-tragedy was a labyrinth of emotional recovery and resilience. Each day melded into the next, with memories of a life once whole occasionally piercing through the mundane. The song Band on the Run became an unwitting anthem of his grief, its notes resurrecting vivid memories of a pre-tragedy summer, rendering the tune unbearable as it transported him back to those fragile days. As he navigated this altered existence, his role within his diminished family shifted. To his mother, he became a beacon of hope, the last child remaining at home. Their relationship evolved into a mutual sustenance. She provided the emotional framework to endure, and in turn, he offered her a purpose to persevere through the pervasive sorrow. Their home transformed into a sanctuary of silence and shadows, a place marked by the deep scars of their shared losses, setting him apart from his peers in profound and enduring ways. Past tragedies show us the strength needed to move forward. Navigating the fatherless paths. There was a quote Mary Gordon once shared about the children who grow up without fathers. It was a sentiment often echoed by a mother, holding weight for sons just as much as daughters. Gordon remarked, "For a fatherless child, everything seems possible, yet nothing feels secure." As a young boy, the true depth of these words was elusive, their meaning obscured by the simplicity of childhood understanding. However, as the years passed, the essence of Gordon's observation became clearer. It was the notion that the world held boundless possibilities, yet there lacked a sense of stability, a reliable anchor. Every unexpected phone call carried the potential to pivot his life's course, promising grand alterations or introducing unforeseen challenges. This understanding molded him into a self-proclaimed catastrophist, someone perpetually braced for the worst, vowing never to be blindsided by anguish again. In his pursuit to confront his deepest fears, he immersed himself in survival courses. He believed in preparing for the harshest realities, ensuring he could withstand whatever the world might hurl in his direction. Paradoxically, his retreat into the realms of science fiction served as his sanctuary, a place where he could evade real-world fears under the guise of confronting them. Here, in stories of distant galaxies and futuristic escapades, he found a peculiar solace, balancing his approach to the uncertainties life presented. But this wasn't the hardest part. You've probably heard about people pushing through their fears, like when you face an uncomfortable situation just to prove to yourself that you can handle it. It's not just about being scared, though. It's about challenging yourself. When my dad died, my older brothers, who had always seemed so strong and unshakable, suddenly didn't seem so invincible anymore. The things we think are important can suddenly lose their meaning when something big happens. This shift made it less challenging for the person to dismiss the judgments of others. Fear of embarrassment dwindled, allowing for actions like singing audaciously in a busy elevator, irrespective of the onlookers' reactions. This deliberate act of shedding self-consciousness was a method to embrace vulnerability, easing the burden of maintaining a poised exterior. It contributed to a sense of liberation from the constant pressure to appear flawless. Each instance brought a fleeting thrill, a pleasant jolt arising from the revelation that in the grand scheme, nothing held overwhelming significance, not even one's own uncomfortable episodes. As time progressed, academic pursuits began to lose their allure. Despite the teacher's earnest efforts, a sense of disconnection pervaded. At home, escapism through literature became a daily ritual, transitioning from science fiction to fantasy, particularly after encountering the tales of Tolkien. The home environment was distinctly shaped by Dad and the boys, a phrase that encapsulated the familial dynamic. After their departure, only the person and their mother remained, creating a challenging yet unique living situation. The mother appeared delicate, akin to fine porcelain at risk of shattering, yet she also seemed as if she belonged to a different realm, inadvertently stranded. The person felt an inherent duty to steer and safeguard her. This protective instinct was a constant companion. In retrospect, the mother's eternal optimism and openness, which once seemed naive during childhood, emerged as her greatest virtues. There was an underlying belief that her positive outlook persisted because of the protective barriers the person provided. The mother, in her unorthodox way, was not just a parent, but a remarkable figure. Following the loss of the father and brothers, the person, even at the tender age of 10, felt as though they assumed the role of caretaker. However, the narrative did not halt there. Children process grief distinctively, exhibiting resilience. Their grasp of the world remains malleable. The experiences shared with the father and brothers profoundly influenced the person's evolving worldview as they matured. Reaching life milestones makes us reflect on family's lasting impact. Reflections from a lifetime of love and loss. Reaching the same age his parents were when they passed away prompted him to reflect on his own resilience. A recent conversation with a friend who had lost her child made him recall how his mother endured her losses. He shared that his mother's love and faith in God sustained her, though he wished she could answer for herself. The crucifix on his wall, a token of his mother's prayers and faith in Our Lady, a figure familiar with the agony of loss, stood as a constant reminder. His mother's faith continued to influence him, teaching him to meet life's events with love and gratitude. What else, he thought, was there to do? The past months had been filled with discussions about loss and grief, which paradoxically comforted him. Raised to mask emotions, these open, heartfelt exchanges provided a release and a meaningful connection. Encountering others who had faced loss always brought surprises. Through offering condolences or sharing his own stories, he illustrated that they were not alone. Yet there was an irony in talking about his losses. When people apologized for bringing up his painful memories, they didn't realize those thoughts were always present, embedded in his being. Over 3 decades had passed since his brother's death, even longer since his father's, yet their memories lingered prominently in his mind. Daily, thoughts of his brother Paul, who had died 45 years earlier, surfaced unexpectedly. He often wondered why no one mentioned him, then realized they couldn't possibly know his internal struggles. At times, he wished for a physical mark, like a scar, to silently signal to others the deep impact of his past. Despite these reflections, he continued living the life he believed he was meant to. Occasionally, he pondered whether a happier version of himself might exist in a different reality, but such thoughts only led him back to his journey, shaped by his past, his mother, and his beliefs. Gradually, he accepted that this life, with all its imperfections, was his to embrace, a realization that might be his bravest act. In an interview, he once expressed his belief that even life's undesirable moments could be seen as blessings. When questioned whether he truly saw life's hardships as gifts, he affirmed without hesitation, "Life was a gift, even with its inherent suffering." This perspective mirrored teachings in both Catholicism and Buddhism, which find meaning in suffering. Though holding this belief didn't ease the difficulties, it enriched his connections with his family and friends, enhancing his empathy and shared experiences. Being human, he believed, meant accepting and growing from all life's experiences, including the unwanted ones. Life's challenges remained daunting, but he drew inspiration from his mother's attitude toward hardships. She never questioned her suffering with "why me?" but faced it with "why not me?" This philosophy resonated with him, underscoring that hardship was a universal human experience linking joy and pain. His faith echoed this sentiment, reflecting that even in suffering, one was never truly alone. How does accepting suffering as a part of life change our approach to it? Like, comment, and subscribe for more.